You are now listening to the Mythic Rare podcast with your host, Graham Pollard, and the icon, Willie B. Welcome back to the Mythic Rare podcast, the first episode after the release of Ferris Beyond Death. We have a ton to talk about today. Magic is great right now after Ferris. I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. And I know so is the one, the only, the icon, Willie B. Willie B, what's going on?
Oh, nothing much, Mr. Pollard. I'm just sitting here smiling ear to ear with just how fun Magic has been lately. I mean, same thing. I've said it since the beginning of this show. My favorite thing about Magic is the constant change, the constant just enjoyment that you can get out of this game, and how there never seems to be a dull moment. Like, yeah, we hit one little rough spot with Oko. We're done with that. Magic, boom. They listened to us. They got rid of it, and now we're just in like an amazing state of play right now.
Yeah,
and
we're in the honeymoon phase, that's for sure.
I absolutely love it. Now, here's the thing, like you said, yeah, it could just be a honeymoon phase, because same thing that happens with any game, but especially Magic. When there's a release of a new deck, everybody seems like, oh, who knows what the meta is, because everybody wants to try everything. So the real challenge will be like next week and the week after. Is it still this enjoyable? Is there still this much like you never know what you're facing, or is there going to start being more of a set standard meta? Hopefully it kind of stays where we're at, because like I said, I think this is brilliant, especially because we have the World Championship coming up in a couple weeks. And so if it could stay this big of wild and like just, nobody knows what's going on, then that allows for so much creativity from these superstars that are going to be coming in and putting on a fantastic show for all of us fans for truly the biggest prize in Magic.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I'm actually really hoping that nobody breaks the format before Worlds. It's 3 weeks away, so that definitely could happen, but I'm really hoping the meta stays as diverse as it is now. We're already seeing some top decks kind of rise to the top, but nothing in my experience so far has been totally overpowered where it's going to be dominating the vast majority of the meta share. And hopefully it stays that way all the way to Worlds. That would be awesome. I know some people like Andre Strosky are notorious for kind of breaking formats, and he's been pretty quiet on Twitter recently about in terms of posting decks and everything that are super competitive. So he could be, I'd imagine he's hard at work. He actually just retired from streaming, which is interesting. I don't blame him. I mean, I don't stream, but just from everyone I've heard that streams, it's a very strenuous task, and it's hard to do that and focus on becoming, a world champion Magic player at the same time. Some people apparently like that, though, because you get to play 8 hours a day and interact with people, and you get to learn. I guess you can learn sometimes from the people watching your stream. But for Andre, I guess he just prefers to do it in not solitude, because he's got a lot of support around him, but not live, not broadcasting it, not having to focus on making an entertaining product at the same time as focusing on strict preparation and everything.
Yeah, I think that's like a constant struggle that we see between people, because like I know it even happened for me when I first, started, getting into the esports industry. Is I was like, well, these players are so great. Why don't they stream all the time? But then you realize that the fact of, when you're streaming, especially if you're that good, you're that big of a streamer, your comments are constantly flooding. People are constantly talking in your chat. And so then now you're trying to watch your chat, play your game, focus, and then I can't think of anything that would be more infuriating than when you're losing and all you see is Pepe hands, Omega lol, like F in the chats, like just constantly coming through the feed. And it's like just, everybody's just humiliating you. Just like, oh my gosh, like nice play, bro. Can't believe you missed that. And like, I would want to punch my monitor if I were to be like streaming during then. So I think.
Have you ever punched a monitor before?
I have never punched a monitor yet.
Neither have I. Not even playing the Wii.
Yeah.
Good for me. Kudos to me for that, to be honest.
I will admit though, we had this in my house when growing up. We had this big TV stand. It was one of those where it had cabinets underneath, and then you put your TV on top. And so my chair used to be right in front of it, so I could put my legs on it. And whenever I'd get angry, I'd kick it. And then at one point, I opened the door and I realized that I started kicking the wood off of the door. So like part of it was coming out because it was like almost like a frame around it, and then there was a little part inside. So I started kicking it off the hinges, and like it was just falling apart. And so like opening the door was super hard. But because
Well, you do have a history of aggression. So.
Yeah, well, I'll admit, I'm very passionate about my games. It was actually kind of funny in my one of my classes this past week. The professor goes, "Raise your hand if you would consider yourself a gamer." Me and like maybe 4 other people raised our hands, and then it was like, "Raise your hand if you play games as a hobby." And then it's like half the class raised their hand. I'm like, you know what? What can I say? I'm passionate about my craft. Sorry for that little tangent, but yes, I'm passionate for my craft, and so are these people, and they're dedicated to becoming the best players. And I think we've seen it with Andre, and like
and everyone, but. Well, some people can actually, like, Canister is a big streamer, and a lot of Gabriel and Seif, a lot of other people. So it's just different things, different.
And I think it depends on your personality. Yeah. Look, I mean, the thing about Canister, though, is he's always been more like the fun, like, meme guy, with the emoting and during mid-game. So I think he likes that type of style. And so also by streaming while playing, like, it also helps him get that mental fortitude. If anybody tries emoting back at him, he's not going to be fazed by it at all.
Yep. So for this episode, we're going to revisit the cards I said I predicted could get banned and looks like way wrong on a lot of them. And then we're also going to give we're about a little less than a week into Ferris. I'm going to revisit the top 5 cards and kind of do a week later Ferris top 5 cards. Towards the end. But at first, I want to talk about this awesome new promotion that Wizards is doing. This is kind of why we got off on the World's Talk. We were talking about this promotion before we started recording. But it's basically kind of like you pick your champion, and they have the motto, the Find Your Champion is a marketing, whatever motto they've been running out for a while. But I really like this initiative that they're doing. I think it's a great initiative. It's the Find Your Champion challenge, I guess, and basically, it's really easy. It's their pinned tweet right now. You click on it. You pick the competitor that you think is going to win Worlds. I picked Andre Strosky. You picked Canister, will it be?
Yeah, I picked Canister.
Yep. If I had to pick a second, it would be Javier Dominguez. And Andrea Mengucci also. Hard to pick against them. Hard to pick against everyone in the field, really. It's a very stacked field this go around, especially since it's likely going to incorporate Modern, Standard, maybe Pioneer, we'll see. People have been hinting that Legacy might be involved. All we know for sure right now as of recording this podcast is that Standard and Draft for Theros Beyond Death is going to be parts of it. But we know at least there are going to be other formats involved. So knowing that, people that have risen to the spotlight on Standard success recently, they're might have their work cut out for them in some of the other formats. We'll see. But it's an awesome initiative they're doing where you pick your champion, and depending on how well they do in the tournament, you'll win prizes in Arena based on their success. So it's just a fun way to get audience engagement and to bring more people to the broadcast. Hopefully, create a rooting interest separate from just natural rooting interest for people you like. And, they're not totally diving into the whole gambling element, but it's at least a step cousin of gambling, I guess you can say, because there's prizes on the line. So I'm really excited. I think they're doing a great job promoting this so far.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's one of those things that is just fantastic, and it gets you interested and it makes you want to watch. Like, I said it from the beginning, I think the hardest thing about watching some of these Magic tournaments is that, sometimes there's just so many players, so you don't necessarily know who to root for. But with a field of just 16 players, I feel like you get that more personal level with the players. And so then now not only are you rooting for them, but now you have reason to root for them as you picked them. And then now you want to get these rewards that come with it. And then you get that sense of pride with it because you're like, yeah, that's my boy. Like, I'm so happy for him. Like, I can't believe he did it. Like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And I get these things. And I think that's huge because, for example, a big selling point for me for getting, like I've said, I'm a big Overwatch fan as well too. So I bought the Overwatch League All Access Pass on Twitch last year. A big reason being is I was granted these tokens that allow you to buy skins of Overwatch League teams for your character in the game. And then also anytime you watch the stream, you gain tokens. And so I would always tune into the games, and even if the games were kind of boring, I would always at least have it pulled up on the side the way I could earn these rewards. And I think that's going to be kind of how it is in Magic. Obviously, nobody's expecting that many people to sit down and watch the entire tournament, all 3 days of the tournament. Well, the thing is hey, like, you know what, you want to read a book? Sure, go for it. You toss Magic on in the background, low volume, something like that. Oh, you're going to go clean the house? You can put it up on your TV, see how your player's doing. I think it's something like that, like to just get it to where it's always on and you always want to be tuned in to know what's going on is what I think is great about this promotion right here. And it rewards fans for watching as well, too, and having knowledge.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the hype has already started, 3 weeks away. So we're going to be talking about this a lot more in the coming weeks. But it's pretty sweet. And the hype is going to be crazy, I think. I think this is going to be the biggest Magic tournament of all time. In the meantime, however, an arguably bigger tournament is coming this Friday. It's the AetherHub Community Tournament. Totally free to enter. Really going to be the first big community tournament in Theros, so we're going to really get a good metagame breakdown, I think, from it. I'm really looking forward to that, because I still don't totally understand I don't think the metagame in Theros is solved yet, and I don't think there's been like a super. I mean, there's been a couple tournaments. There's a couple of Magic Online challenges. I think White Weenies ended up winning that. But no, there hasn't been a big Ferris tournament until this one, so I'm glad AetherHub gets to put it on. I'll be playing you if your deck picked out, will it be?
I'm still kind of toying with some things. Like you said, I just haven't quite picked out the meta. And same thing, I always just like doing something outside the box. So I'm picking a lot of random decks, seeing what I can get. And same thing, without having that consistency of a specific opponent, I don't know exactly what is actually going to work in the long run. So it's like I'll lose a couple and then I'll win some, and I'm like, you know what, I got to trash this deck. Let's try a new one.
Right.
And then just keep pushing it up. So, hopefully by next week I'll have a more set deck. But like I said, I don't want to get burnt out of the game, and I always like having a couple decks that I can use and come back to.
Yep. Yeah, so at first I thought, so I saw a video right when Ferris came out from CobraGoBlue, which, oh, by the way, Willie B, I don't know if you saw this, a little friendly CobraGoBlue actually uttered the phrase WWE style rivalry in one of his videos, which is awesome. He was going at it with MonoBlackMagic, one of my favorite streamers, two of my favorite streamers, really. That just made me giddy with excitement. I'm not going to lie, to see the two of them going at each other. Great for the community. So what happened, for those of you who didn't follow this, MonoBlackMagic, obviously his name is MonoBlackMagic, but CobraGoBlue, his name is CobraGoBlue, so he's kind of known as the Mono Blue guy. But basically, MonoBlackMagic created a Mono Blue deck before CobraGoBlue, and CobraGoBlue created a Mono Black deck before MonoBlackMagic. So in the intro to their video, MonoBlackMagic kind of stole CGB's intro a little bit, and It was pretty funny. And there's some friendly banter going on between the two of them. And then CGB retaliated in a big way in his video, and he was like, "I haven't cultivated any WWE style rivalries recently, so I'm going at you, MonoBlackMagic." And I'm like, "Yes, let's fight to the death here.
Yes,
we need more
please.
of this content." That was awesome. But also a really, 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 really sweet deck in that video from CGB with the Mono Blue Devotion. So I'm trying to make that work still. And if I can get a good version of that to work for the tournament, that's probably what I'll be playing on Friday.
Yeah.
But there's still several days to go before then, so we'll see. But awesome to see two streamers going at it.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think it's always good for the community. It always provides some sort of environment. And I think it's the same thing that we said over and over again. Any publicity is good publicity. Even if you think of the people in any gaming industry, think of somebody like Ninja. Ninja is arguably one of the most controversial people in the sense of, you either hate him or you love him. for Fortnite, and like he has done so many things for that game and just the gaming industry in general. And I think just having that sort of conniption of where somebody just thinks that they run the game, so to say. So like for instance, Noxious is constantly having top streams and Twitch on like Twitch, and so if he just got super toxic and was like, dude, my decks are better than anybody else's. Anybody that tries to use any deck that's not mine is just wrong. And then if they lose, it'd be like, it's because the computer generated, like, it was wrong. Like, they just got lucky and, like, never admit defeat. But even then, like, that creates some sort of symbol. And then if they pick that fight with somebody else, like you said, it's just great for the community. As long as it's within reason as well, too. Like, we're not trying to go for death threats or anything like that. But
yep.
Little friendly banter ain't never hurt.
Oh, absolutely. And some more AetherHub news. Big release. So Andre, I know, CEO of AetherHub, he's been working hard on this, and it came out pretty recently. So we now have an extension. When I say we, I mean AetherHub, and this is 100% on Andre. We have a MTG extension, or it's called the MTG Assistant. MTG Assistant, but the A kind of flowed, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's a pretty sweet extension. It's got deck tracking, it's got a draft helper, it's got a collection summary, it's got metagame info, and there's a ton of new or ton of planned releases and upgrades that are going to be pushed out for this thing. It's pretty sweet. The draft rankings, if you're into that, it's got Louis Scott Vargas kind of draft rankings for each card in a draft. So that's really helpful. And then it's got a deck tracker. So, for example, if you're in the middle of a game and you're curious how many copies of a card you have left in your deck, basically, instead of having to look through your graveyard and count, see how many are in there, look in exile, whatever, it'll just tell you right away on the side of the screen. So that is pretty sweet. It's an awesome tool. I know Andre and his team have been working incredibly hard on it over the last couple months, and I'm glad to see that people are really liking it so far. And the reviews have been great, and I know he's got a lot of planned features, a lot of support coming out for this extension. So if you're in the market and if you're looking for an MTG extension, definitely check this out. I'll have a link to where to download it and where to get it, and an article all about it in the description for this video on YouTube and in my article on AetherHub. But yeah, it's just awesome to be part of a team that's consistently putting out great new features and great new ways to improve in Magic and the Magic experience for everyone. So just wanted to give that a quick plug. And I got it. It's pretty sweet so far. So definitely check that out.
The work that the man Andre does at AetherHub is unbelievable. He is just truly a workhorse. I mean, that guy is just something else. Also, he streams every now and again, so give him a follow on Twitch as well too. You can find all that information, I'm pretty sure, on AetherHub as well too. Yep. But he is just, I mean, what that guy does for the Magic.
He's a workaholic. Yeah, he's got a work ethic like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. Meanwhile, I'm over here, Yeah. I guess I do work a lot, to be honest, so I can't really shit on myself too much. But I'm not in the same league as on. I probably am putting in like 60 hours a week. He's probably putting in, I don't even know. I don't want to know what Andre's schedule is like. It's like me, like I'll go on weekends and I'll just work all weekend, or, even during my break, I was working every day. And then it was just like, I just want to be brain dead when I'm like, right? I know.
Like, I just want to sit
last
around.
Long weekend was awesome.
That's what I do with, that's what Magic is my escape. And Andre has a completely different version of Magic as his escape. Not only is playing Magic his escape, but talking, creating different things for Magic, for the community is insane as well too. So if you like Andre, and then you also want to go to the Worlds as well too, this is actually what I found really cool. Magic the Gathering was actually doing so not only did they do a giveaway to where people were allowed to make like the best Hawaiian shirt.
To be honest, I was minorly underwhelmed. I feel like I could have designed a better Hawaiian shirt. I wish I jumped in.
The shirt designs are a little iffy, but that's really cool. But the better one is they're actually doing an auction for 2 people to come to the
Oh, I
Magic
saw that.
World.
Yeah.
But the thing is all of the money will be going towards charity, to Child's Play charity. So that's actually like a really cool thing. So Magic's giving back to the community. So rather than pocketing I don't know, I'm just gonna assume everything will be. I mean, it's got to be like close to 2-3 grand, between hotel, food, flight, because flights alone are
To
stupid
Hawaii,
expensive
yeah,
to
and
Hawaii.
they'll fly. It's a global game, so they'll fly you from anywhere to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So like, it's gonna be a minimum of like
Yeah,
$3,000, especially with people bidding on it. So,
man, I would love to go to Hawaii. I wish I. Are you working in Hawaii this summer?
not
Or
this
no?
summer.
Okay.
They do have a summer camp program director position and family program director position open, but I don't know if I'll be able to apply for it in time because I still got to finish up school this year. But goal is to maybe one day go out there. So for those of you that didn't know, I did happen to spend 7 months in Hawaii. No big deal. I was just out there chilling, living my best life. Also realized that I hate cold weather because I stayed there during the
Oh,
winter. I was getting pictures of the snow, and I was outside, in a tank and shorts in 75, 80-degree weather swimming. And I was like, yeah, okay. I think I like this weather better. Uh,
I was just in California last weekend. It was fucking freezing there.
oh
I
god.
wasn't
Yeah,
Big Bear though, but still. Um,
yeah. I saw you in snowboarding,
I'm skiing. Nice try, but I think
skiing.
I
So
am in
okay,
Florida or Willie B.
okay.
Jesus,
I'm sorry. You're right.
can't disparage me like that. No, it was fun though, but it was cold. It was
God,
colder in California than it was in North Carolina for a lot of it.
yeah.
So that was finally disappointing. And the hot tub broke at our cabin.
Oh,
It was a sweet cabin though. Like I went with like a pretty big group of people, so we got 2 different cabins right at the base of the mountain, so you could just walk to go skiing in the morning.
oh, that's pretty big.
It was pretty nice, but the hot tub broke, and that's just the ultimate tragedy. Like there's nothing that can tank a trip more than a hot tub
Yeah.
breaking in a
Uh,
cold winter environment like Big Bear. Brutal.
As a kid, I was never the biggest hot tub guy. Not gonna lie, but
Have you become a
growing,
hot tub guy or?
yeah, no.
Well, if you don't like
So,
the cold though, so you're not going to be in like prime hot tub environment.
but whenever I used to travel with the basketball team here, I'd always go to the hot tub, regardless of the hotel we were staying at. There was always some hot tub. I'd always go to the hot tub. And so, especially if it was an outdoor one, oh my gosh, I could spend so much time. But I remember there was one time because I had this thing for my phone to where it could just sit in the water. I
Yeah.
literally sat in a hot tub for like an hour and a half, which is very unhealthy, by the way. 'Cause
Oh
you
no, I
sweat.
was in there. When it was working, I was probably in there for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, which is severely unhealthy because you got to
It's
be
pretty bad for you, especially if you're drinking, which I was pounding back the White Claws. But
yeah, you got to be drinking like you got to
well,
be
White
drinking
Claws
like
kind of
Gatorade.
hydrate
You
you.
got to you got to drink like Gatorade or something to get those electrolytes back in if you're going to be sitting in there for
I
that
had a
long.
Powerade, White Cherry, I believe, Glacier
Yeah,
Cherry or whatever they call it.
yeah,
The
exactly.
wings. Yeah, yeah. You got to make sure you're rehydrating in a hot tub. And some guy was saying that if you're over 7,000 feet in elevation, 1 beer equals 2. But I don't believe that for a second. I don't know. I didn't feel that effect at all. However, it's important consumer information for any of you listeners out there. Uh, so be careful in hot tubs at high elevation,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and don't break them. But
Also,
there's no better bonding opportunity than like cramming 7 to 8 people in a tiny hot tub. It doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna be getting along
yeah,
pretty in no time.
you always just get a bunch of stories to tell, and it's always just super funny. And then you make that awkward like foot contact because you're trying to
Yep. Oh,
stretch, and
there's
then you're like,
always
oh
that
god,
foot contact,
yeah,
or you
exactly,
slip down. Yeah.
yeah. Or then somebody's trying to get out, and then they just slip and eat it. Oh, those are always the
That
best.
happened. That
Yeah,
definitely happened. Not to me though. Luckily, I was well grounded.
yeah.
I'm at home in the icy environment.
Exactly. So, but anyways, as we were talking about though, with alcohol, Bud Light is actually the official sponsor of League
Great
of
segue.
Legends, and that gets us into our next point that Mr. Pollard would like to go on about.
Yeah. So okay, if Bud Light is going to be the official alcohol/beer sponsor of League of Legends, it's time for Magic the Gathering to get an official alcohol sponsorship too. And I am strongly in the camp for White Claw Hard Seltzer, like you wouldn't believe. Delicious, nutritious, low calorie, will keep you hydrated. I mean, it's the ultimate drink. And if you're grinding away at a Magic table, you like a lot of people are sipping their water. Why not be sipping White Claws? And I would like to see one day Mythic Championship tournament. You're gonna throw this out here right now, Willie B. Let's see if you like this idea. Minimum we go 0.12 ABV as the entrance. You got to take a breathalyzer before you start. You got to be at least 7 to 8 White Claws deep. And then you duke it out. Can you imagine that? That would be colossal. It would be entertaining though.
That should be like a
someone on Twitch has to do that, I think.
No, that should be like a content creator type.
Yeah, content creator type tournament.
Yeah, so like it doesn't necessarily have to. I think we just created our new tournament that we're gonna do. So I think it's one of those.
The next Aether Hub community tournament.
Magic After Dark. Aether Hub After Dark, And
it's actually a great idea, Aether Hub After Dark. Oh, yeah. And a lot of my guys at Aether Hub would be in for that, I'm sure, because I got some good response to my White Claw tweet. We could get that going, Willie B. We could get that this week. We got a big tournament this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to a concert this weekend. But next weekend's the Super Bowl. We'll get it going. So maybe a Thursday night would be good.
The only problem is that I will actually not be able to participate in the tournament.
Yeah, you know, but you can referee.
I will be the official hype man.
Yeah.
So I'll be the official announcer, whatever you call them. The what are those things called? When you're hosting an event. The MC. No, the MC. I'll be the official MC. So MC / play-by-play.
So basically, you'd just be doing Steve from MTG Arena Meta's job
right
now.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, Magic After Dark host MC. You would be great at that too.
Yeah, exactly.
You're kind of destined to do that, Willie B.
I'm not gonna lie. There was one time in high school. My high school they did obviously we didn't call it a beauty pageant because you're not supposed to call it a beauty pageant because there's a lot more to it than just the beauty. It was all the other talents as well too. And so I was actually the MC of it. Though.
Yeah, you wouldn't have won a beauty pageant.
So even exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, that was
I wouldn't either, for the record.
No, yeah. So there was one point where it was we had to. They were like, okay, yeah, we'll have our winner. So just go up there, do the intro, and then we'll have it. And so we do all of our intro. And they're about to announce the winner, and they're like, wait, no, actually, we're still discussing it. And so for 15 minutes, I just had to cover. Me and my buddy Brandon at the time, we both just kept clapping back at each other and just hosting and making everybody laugh. And I think I can bring that to Magic. I think I can bring that to Magic. Bring that great environment, especially if we're trying to build the community into coming to the events. I feel like something like the World Championship somehow should be viewer friendly as well too. So
you can host a watch party, will it be?
Now
we're talking. We're gonna make this Magic After Dark thing happen though. That's my new goal. I don't know how to prove it though. I guess honestly, there's probably lots of legal issues saying that you need to be.
You need to be inebriated.
I think we're just going to encourage it strongly.
Well, yeah, so it'll be an encourage.
If you're of age, I want a picture of your ID.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't. Yeah, we'll take that picture of the ID just to prove it.
Yeah, you can obviously mark out all your address and stuff. Just need a picture and your birthday.
You could do some sort of. I was going to say you could do some sort of drinking game while playing, but I like the idea of going into it initially at a certain level. And then we can make this happen. I don't know. This is apologize if this is not an Aether Hub approved position
also,
right now.
Also apologize to those that were trying to get some deep insight on the Magic game.
Oh, we're gonna get there. Do you want to get there right now? We can get there right now. People have tolerated our shenanigans enough.
So after these players are inebriated, these are the 5 cards that we think that will be dominating the four.
Regardless of what mental state you're in.
Yeah.
So I did an article last couple weeks ago about my predicted cards that I would think would be banned in Theros, and in hindsight now, I don't think any of them are going to get banned. Especially my number one, which was a Nyx Bloom Ancient. That's the 7 mana card where it basically just triples your mana whenever you tap for anything. And that card is very good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to get banned. I don't think. I think if any card is going to get banned, it's going to be Nissa, which I think Nissa is still the best card in the format right now. But that's the thing. Like, nothing really seems like it needs to get banned at the moment. There's no glaring. Like, Field of the Dead was glaring pretty much right away after Eldraine came out. And then Oko was pretty glaring after that. There's nothing right away, especially no new cards that I'm like, those need to get banned. But I do kind of have a top 5 card list now. In hindsight, or not in hindsight, like we're 1 week in, and I think these cards that I'm going to say have had the most impact so far. So, Willie B, why don't we start with Gary, the Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Oh, yeah, so we got my man Gary, and so he's a zombie, 3 mana, 2 black. He's a 2/4, and so when Gary enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Each black and the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to black.
So everyone knows what devotion is, Willie B. So nice job there. But
no, we gotta go in depth.
I agree. So okay, well, so this card is obviously it's the reprint, and everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. It's only an uncommon, but it is kind of the stud, the game winner, the win condition of Mono Black Devotion. So for my experience so far, it seems like Mono Black Devotion was the deck for like 1 or 2 days. It was the deck that a ton of people were playing at least. And Nightmare Shepherd is another awesome card that makes that deck happen. Nightmare Shepherd is the enchantment creature with flying, where when one of your non-token creatures dies, it returns to the battlefield as a token creature. So essentially, you can sacrifice your creatures with either Witch's Oven or Ayara or any other sacrifice outlet, maybe Priest of the Forgotten Gods, and it'll be able to get their enter the battlefield effect again, which if you have Gary out there is oftentimes enough to win the game. But Mono Black Devotion was seen in a ton of play, and I think that play has died down significantly over the last couple of days. But since it made such an impact at the start, I felt like I had to include Gary in the top 5 cards. It's kind of irresponsible not to. I mean, he is kind of the major component to one of the more popular decks out there. So I think, at the very least, that qualifies him for top 5.
Yeah, I agree. And so, let's stay on the devotion path, since luckily for me, I went super in-depth about devotion because, who knows? There might be somebody that's trying to get into Magic, listen to our show. Right? We can't assume everybody knows.
I never assume.
Yes. So now we might as well stay on the path and talk about Thassa, God of the Sea.
All right.
Are you talking about
it? No, you can read it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you take it.
Okay, so Thassa, God of the Sea. I actually sent you the old Thassa anyway, so it's a good thing you didn't read it. But Thassa is the God card, the mono blue God card. If your devotion is less than 5, it's just an enchantment. If your devotion is higher than 5, it's an enchantment creature with indestructible. But the big opponent, or the big reason why this card is so good is its ability, which allows you to basically blink a card every turn. And in Simic decks and even mono blue devotion, this is an extremely powerful effect. You're seeing this card a lot in the Temur Elementals deck, which is a deck that plays cards like Risen Reef, Agent of Treachery. You see this card in a lot of decks with Risen Reef and Agent Treachery, and it's kind of a very good 4-drop to fill out that curve. Being able to blink Risen Reef in the right situation is really good, but obviously being able to blink Agent of Treachery is insanely good. It allows you to steal 2 cards per turn, and very quickly you can get the last part of Agent of Treachery, where if you control 3 or more permanents from your opponent, you get to draw 3 cards. So it allows you to get that off, and just obviously stealing 2 of your opponent's cards permanently per turn is pretty ridiculous. But it has a lot of other interactions too. I mean, in Mono Blue Devotion, it works with the Thassa's Oracle, which can win you the game. It works with Cavalier of Gales. And I think we're still seeing different ways you can play this card. seen it. I don't know if it's good, but I've seen it in Esper decks. I've seen it splashed in Mono Black Devotion, even to blink Gary and to blink Yarok and to blink other discard enter the battlefield cards or anything. I've seen people try that. I can't confirm if it's good or not, but I've seen people. I mean, this card has seen a ton of play and a ton of different strategies, and has definitely made a significant impact on the format so far. So as a result of that, I think it's definitely justified to say that Fossa is in the top 5.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that insight. And now, actually, how about we switch it up to the one character that has actually managed to stay in both of our top 5s, our pre-top 5, and then now our post-week top 5, which is Haktos the Unscarred, who, reminder, 2 red, 2 white, who attacks each combat if available, and then he enters the battlefield, and you get to choose 2, 3, or 4 at random. And then he has the protection from each converted mana cost other than the chosen number as well.
Right.
Too. He's a 6/1.
Yep. So this is an interesting selection. I think this is probably the one most people will disagree with, because there really isn't great support for him. Like, there isn't a great Boros aggro shell that is really super competitive right now. And that's unfortunate, because if there was, I think this card would be an absolute superstar. Every time I played against it, it's been really difficult for me to deal with. Other than just playing board sweeps or whatever. It's as an attacking creature with 6 damage, it can get in pretty consistently a lot of the time. And this is one of those cards where I think it might not see a ton of play now, but before rotation, I can see this card become an issue. Not an issue in a bad way, but just like a bad, like a superstar is essentially what I'm saying. And because of that, I wanted to include him in the top 5. Also, I just like the card because it's Achilles, and I'm a big fan of the movie Troy with Brad Pitt, as I mentioned last episode. So for those reasons, I've included it. I wouldn't say it's really top 5 cards making an impact on the format so far, but if we're looking at just the card in general on its own in a nutshell, and with the potential to become a real superstar, I think I have to include Haktos just because of that. Yeah, where are we going next, Willie B?
Wait, I was going to add on to that. I definitely agree with what you said about Haktos. Like, I think the thing about him is, like you said, he might not necessarily be like top 5 most played right now, but it's one of those, if you find the proper support or if you get the proper draw for him, it's just so hard to counter. So it's like, if you get the proper support, so it's finding and building a deck around him that's going to be the hardest part. But I feel like he's one of those uncut gems that's like so raw, counted, but it's like you have to find that support, and that's the biggest struggle. So I think that's why, like you said, that's why he's in our top 5, is because of that sole reason.
Yeah. And because of his mana cost, it's usually 99% of the time going to have to be in a Boros deck. Yeah. And like I said earlier, unfortunately, Boros just isn't the cream of the crop right now. And in Ferris, it didn't really get any other great cards other than this one. And it got some good, like, white. If you're building a feather deck, I guess it might have got some support with some of these, like, combat trick cards that came out. But overall, really no studs in Boros. But keep an eye out for Haktos, because there's a lot of potential in here. And if someone can figure out a good way to include it in a deck, then watch out, because he's going to be a bad man.
Oh, exactly. And now we're going to stick in the warrior fashion, and we're going to go to Setson Champion, who's 2 mana, 2 mana, 1 green, 1/3. And so I'll let you take it away.
Yep. So I think this card was definitely slept on before Theros was released, and it's a key card in an archetype that I think is surprising a lot of people in how good it is, and that is green-white aura enchantments, and that deck is trending up. I mean, it's trending up because of Setson Champion. So Setson Champion, it reminds me a little bit of Edgewall Innkeeper for its purpose of that whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and you draw a card. The +1/+1 counter isn't the most relevant thing. I mean, it's still good, don't get me wrong, but the draw a card is really what that's for. And it's not legendary either, so you can get a couple of them down. And it seems like in the really successful decks that use this card, they just play like that. Citizen Champion is a lot of times like the top end of the curve. So it's most of the cards are 3 mana or below. Maybe you'll see some with some 4 mana cards in there. But I actually haven't played that deck yet, but I've seen videos on YouTube, and every time I've seen someone talk about it, they seem surprised at how good that deck is. I don't want to go ahead and say that the deck is top tier, but it's definitely at the very least tier 2, and high tier 2, I would say, so far. And Citizen Champion, in my opinion, is kind of the key card that makes that deck happen. I mean, there's a lot of other good cards in that deck, but without Citizen Champion, that deck is not going to be at nearly the same place that it is. And there's a ton of card draw potential in that deck, too, if you can get the right setup where you have that 2-mana green enchantment that lets you draw a card whenever you target one of your cards with a spell. And Citizen Champion, that's 2 cards every time you play a card. And in theory, the deck's only playing 20 to 22 lands, so you're not going to be flooding out that often, so you can just kind of go off uninterrupted in that deck. So pretty good, and it looks like a pretty fun deck, too. So definitely making an impact on the format, at least, in multiple ways. And I've also seen Citizen Champion in some Bant decks with Nissa, which was pretty scary, though, when I played it. So really good card, I think. I think this card surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And then, last but not least, we're going to end our top 5 off with an artifact. A legendary artifact, so to say, known as Nyx's Lotus. So, Mr. Cole,
you missed one, Willie B. Do you want to go to Dream Trawler now?
Wait, did I miss one?
Yeah. Did you get the Dream Trawler when I sent you that?
Oh, you're right. I apologize.
I was going to do Nyx's Lotus is going to be an honorable mention in my list.
Oh, okay, okay. I see where I messed up.
Yeah.
I apologize to all.
It's all good.
So Nyx's Lotus, like you said, is our honorable mention, but we will finish this off with Dream Trawler, where you can take it away, as the picture on my screen right now is a little messed up.
Per usual. All right, so Dream Trawler is another card that not everyone slept on, but some people did, including myself. And this card is an absolute all-star. It's probably my number 1 right now, in my experience, because it makes Azorius Control and Esper, specifically Esper, have a viable win condition. So in Esper, some of the issues with the deck was that some of the win cons, like Command the Dreadhorde or Bolas the Citadel, were only good in certain situations. If you're playing aggro and you had already taken a beating, you couldn't really play those cards, or you would just die from playing them. But Dream Trawler, on the other hand, it's got lifelink, and it's a hefty lifelinker too. You can build that bad boy up to gain you 7-8 life per turn. And it makes Esper really, I think, a top tier. I think that in my opinion, the top tier decks right now is some sort of Nissa ramp deck and some sort of Esper deck. I don't think either has been totally refined enough to the point where we can point out a specific list. But I think in general, Esper is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And a large reason of that is because of Dream Trawler. So Dream Trawler, it's basically a bomb that you put, and apparently in draft, it's basically unbeatable. A lot of people are saying it should have been printed as a Mythic, which I agree. I think it's better than some of the Mythics that got printed in this set. Like the red Ox card, I think this Dream Trawler is way, way better than that. But anyways, it's a bomb in Mythic, and it's a bomb in Standard, in my opinion. But I've been playing it a lot in my Esper Stacks deck. I don't think that deck is that great, but this card saves the deck. Without this card, that deck is nothing. Because you take a lot of damage because you don't really have many answers to aggro in the early game. And then Treacherous Blessing, like the name suggests, it can be pretty treacherous. And you can take some damage with that. But if you have a Dream Troll in your hand, you really have nothing to worry about, because you can easily, in Esper, you can easily draw 4 or 5 cards per turn at that stage in the game. We're talking like turn 7, turn 8 when you get this card down. You can easily draw 3 to 5 cards per turn in the right Esper deck, specifically Esper Stacks. If you do that, you can buff this card up to an 8/5 or whatever, 6/5, 9/5, and you can just you can climb your way back into the game immediately. It's incredibly difficult to get rid of because you almost always have cards in your hand to discard for that hexproof. The only thing is it does tap when you do that, so that can prevent you from attacking if your opponent plays it right. But I have been actually doing a pretty sweet combo in my Esper Stacks deck where I've been playing Proteon Thaumaturge. It's a 2-mana blue, 1 blue, 1 colorless creature. It's a 1/1 with Constellation, and whenever enchantment enters the battlefield, you can copy another creature on the battlefield. So it's very easy in that deck to copy Dream Trawler, and you can get 2 Dream Crawler. When you get 2 Dream Trawlers down, it's game over. I mean, unless you get board wiped, it's almost impossible to deal with that, and you're going to be gaining, because they both attack, so you draw 2 cards, and then they both get buffed up additionally because of that. So you're usually gaining like 15 to 20 life if you have 2 of them down and with one attack that goes uninterrupted. And in Esper, a lot of the time, most of the games you're playing, that's too much for your opponent to deal with. So that's why I have this card number 1 right now. It's been just an all-star for me and an all-star for a lot of people playing control shells, and really a card that those archetypes needed to do. So I would, if you're an Esper player and you haven't burned your wild cards yet and you're waiting, I would say it's a safe bet. You're not going to be disappointed if you get some Dream Trawlers.
No, I agree for sure. And that rounds up our top 5 with our, honorable mention that I may or may not have messed up of the Nyx Lotus. And so...
Yeah, I'll touch on that really quickly. The Nyx Lotus is... It's the artifact that will add a certain amount of mana to your mana pool for your devotion. And this card is just like really, really, really fun to play with, and it can lead to some awesome one-turn kill combos with Mono Blue Devotion or Mono Green Devotion with Finale of Revelation, or if you're being tricky, combination of the two. So just for that aspect, I really enjoy the card, and I think that card is also one of those cards where it can be, if the perfect deck is crafted around it, you can get some scary one-turn wins, which I always think is fun.
Yes, I agree as well, too. And like we said, these are obviously still slightly rough. It's only after a week of gameplay, but we figure we give you kind of an update as to how we're feeling about the game as well, too, and its standpoint. And we're really excited to keep playing, keep crafting new decks, trying to figure out any new tips, tricks that may help us find a positive placement come climbing the ranked ladder here in the next coming weeks. Right now, just kind of playing some friendlies and whatnot.
Yeah. I haven't been ranking too hard right now, but I'll be hitting that soon.
Yeah,
I'd like to get a sense of where the meta is before I burn my wild cards on a really competitive deck, because I always have screwed that up in the past. So being a little bit smarter this time around, being more patient.
Yeah, figure out a little bit more of what the actual meta is first, and then being able to pace my style towards that.
All right, so we got Averhub Community Tournament this Friday. There's actually, I think I forgot to mention this before. They're running 2 tournaments. One is at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and one is at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I think. And that's just to cover different time zones for people playing in different parts of the world. So playing both if you want, if you can, but playing the one that's going to be available to you if you can. That's why we're running 2. But it's going to be an awesome tournament. I'm really excited to play in it, and I know Willie B is as well. And aside from that, download MTG Assistant for sure if you want, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Yep, sounds good. Enjoy you guys.